This is Lance Archer, the American Psycho.
This is Brian Thompson, the voice of TCW Wrestling.
This is the original hardcore wrestling and freak of ECW, the one and only Axel Rodney. Yes, this is the Shockmaster, and you're listening to Hardcore Wrestling Radio.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, and of course, happy Thanksgiving to everyone who's listening. First, let me introduce, he's my partner, he's my sidekick, the son of a bitch, Andy. Andy, welcome to the show.
Hello everybody, and hope you're doing well on this happy Thanksgiving, whatever it is, that we don't celebrate in the UK.
Well, hey, you know, even if you don't celebrate, you should still try eating a turkey. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And over from the CWA, he's Joseph Knight. Joe, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. And Andy, it's the only day in the year where you stuff yourself and you pass out the next day.
Sounds like a good evening.
And then over from the West Coast, he's the Bay Area MVP, known as Will. Will, welcome to the show.
I don't know if football and turkey go together, but after the show, I guess I want to know how my stomach feels after all that turkey.
And then from Lance Moss TV, he's the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, happy Thanksgiving.
Well, since they usually listen to the show, hi, WWE.
We'll get to what exactly he's talking about in a minute. But right now, guys, we got to talk about Survivor Series.
Do we have to?
Just for a short bit, unfortunately.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
No pain, no pain.
Well, you know.
No. You got to say it like Dr. Smith from the old Lost in Space. Oh, the pain, the pain.
You know, it wasn't a complete pain. I mean, it wasn't very, very predictable. But the first match, the opening match, which was the 5-on-5 Survivor Series, which was the Shield and the Real Americans versus the Rhodes, the Usos, and returning Rey Mysterio, wasn't a bad match. You know, it started off with the Usos and the Rhodes and Mysterio looking like they were getting the upper hand. Then all of a sudden, the Shield just comes back and cleans house, and Roman Reigns did a really good job, guys. Andy, what did you think for that match?
Best part about it for me was Goldust was in it. Apart from that, I was not impressed at all. Sorry, that's my opinion.
All right. Joe, over to you.
It was a very good match, a great way to start off the Survival Series. You're looking at the Shield are going to be your next top wrestlers in the WWE. Reigns with that spear, he reminds me of a young Edge. He was taking out everybody with that spear. So just when you thought the Shield and everybody was going to be eliminated, they really picked it up and took everybody out. So I think the Shield members, all three, are going to be a new force. Well, they're going to be your next superstars coming up and possibly future singles champions.
All right. Well, let me ask you this: with Reigns being one of the sole survivors in that match, especially eliminating as many people as he did, do you think that's a sign that the WWE is saying, "Hey, look, you could be one of our next guys if you play your cards right," or you think that was just pushing over the Shield?
Well, there have been reports talking about how well he would do if he were to disband. I mean, there were reports, of how he progressed himself, but to be honest, I think this is more of them pushing the Shield. I mean, Reigns being the powerhouse as he is. But, I mean, time can only tell, though. I mean, his dominance at Survivor Series, unbelievable. Do not get me wrong, gentlemen. This was great. But for right now, I might as well say he stick with the Shield right now until the disbandment, and then we'll see what goes from there. This was only a push, but time can only tell if it digresses or not.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. And like I said, well, Lance, let me ask you this one question. Do we see Rollins ever being able to expand past the Shield, or is this just pretty much where he's stuck there?
Well, eventually I could see, since he has been improving at least the past couple of weeks, I could see him expanding past. I don't know where, but I could see some sort of expansion, yeah.
Oh. All right, Andy, your thoughts? Andy? Oh.
Andy, off the bottle.
Andy, if you don't talk, we're going to throw dirt on you.
I'm sorry, I'm back. My earphones are going on the. I keep getting. That's all I'm getting at the moment. So I've unplugged and plugged back in again.
Oh, sorry about that. All right. Well, we were just wondering if you had any more thoughts about the first match and the opening match. And
no, it was just such. It was predictable. We fucking hell, put your teeth back in again. We predicted it was going to be the match, and people kept saying it's not going to happen, but it did, and I don't think it was as good as people expected it to be. I mean, what happened to Moxie? He was first one eliminated, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So much for giving him a push.
All right. Well, I think another match that we want to talk about is, of course, I think was the Beard and the Best, which of course is Punk and Brian versus the Wyatts, Hopper and Rollins. Now, this was supposed to, I think it should have been without a doubt probably one of the matches of the night. These guys really did a great job, both sides. They had some great chemistry, some great spots. Joe, over to you. Some of your thoughts.
Pretty much, I would have to say the rest of the Survival Series, I wasn't too impressed. The Best and the Beards were pretty much. It was a funny match, and they really did a lot of great work. I actually liked that match because you got to see two top stars, Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, work together. It was that little point when we all watched it that it looked like for some odd reason CM Punk was looking to betray Ryan.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up. You actually thought that you were saying it. Oh yeah, Punk's going to jump on Punk because he kept on getting behind Punk, and I was waiting for that moment. You had me waiting, but then all of a sudden, it never happened.
But you know what? That was kind of a teaser because he stood behind him, kept pushing him forward, and I kind of felt that, it looked like they were teasing it. It looked like it was going to happen, and bam, it didn't happen. But you can get that itching feeling that maybe they were testing it out. Maybe they were doing it. That was the night, Survival Series, to sum it up, was the night where they really tested the talent of who's going to take the next step. Obviously, the Shield, Cody Rhodes, and even Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are going to be your leaders in that. Oh, and the Shield, are going to be your guys that are going to lead your next generation of WWE superstars.
All right. Well, I mean, during this match, obviously, we saw, Harper, who's always been pretty much one of the shining guys, and even over the past couple of weeks, we've kind of said that, Bray Wyatt was kind of been lacking. He's been just sitting in the rocking chair. He gets in, he does one move, and does a lot of talking. That's about it. So if we really have to say who's they're pushing, it's obviously they're not pushing. Even when he on Raw, he was on the match. I think he was only in the match for like maybe 3 minutes. Kept on tagging out the other guys. So, Will, what do you think? Would you have to agree with me? Is he looking more like a manager than he is a wrestler?
He's pretty much a manager. I really don't got nothing more to say about this. He a wrestler? Nah, really?
Yeah.
Sorry, short to the point. I just don't have much to contribute on this. I'm sorry.
Pretty much out of the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt is your weakest link. I think right now he's just been a kind of a flop as a wrestler. But as an antagonist, as a manager, that's his best shot. That's all he can basically do. Luke Harper is another guy. I will peg him as a future singles champion. I'm not going to say world champion, but I'm going to say it's a singles champion, maybe intercontinental United States, or just one of those guys that's going to be a top guy who's going to always chase the title.
All right. Lance, give us your thoughts on this match, or at least maybe even about Bray Wyatt.
Well, honestly, when this match was going on, it was a good match, but it was about that point of the night where the card was just getting drawn out. I think we all agree that.
Yeah, it couldn't get any worse, basically.
Yeah, but then with Bray Wyatt, I see him more of more of like a Kevin Sullivan Taskmaster type, where he's creepy as hell, but he don't wrestle all that much, and he just mainly works as a creepy ass manager.
Yeah, and I think these are the only two really good matches of the Survivor Series. The two, I guess, main events, the World Champion and the WWE Championship matches were okay, but we both knew we all knew who was going to win. We knew that Orton was going to wind up keeping it, and we knew that, of course, Cena was going to win. But there was one thing none of us really saw coming, and that's, of course, when Cena comes out and challenges, Orton for a title versus title match. And I think this has been real big news over the past couple of weeks. Since over the past week. So, excuse me. Triple H even did a promo this Wednesday, and he said straight out that he just only wanted one title. And guys, I think we all know what title's going. It's not the
bye big gold.
Exactly, the world title's going. Sorry, guys. We've been talking about this pretty much off the air, and I know that to go over it again is a little bit redonkulous, but here we are talking about it again. Andy, your thoughts? What would you have to say about the world title being gone, about only cutting it down to one title?
We've spoke about it months and months ago. We must have a mole in the team that's leaking it to Triple H. But the only thing that worries me is I don't mind which title goes as long as they bring a belt that looks like a title belt. Because at the moment, the old heavyweight title belt is not, I don't know, it just doesn't look right. The new one brought out by The Rock, yes, I was told that it was done by the guys from Orange County Choppers, and my God, it looks like something that should be stuck on the back of a chopper, to be perfectly honest. They'd have done better sending kids, or doing kids having a competition on the app and send it in. Please send your sketchbook pencil drawings of what you think the World Championship belt should look like. Certainly shouldn't look like that.
Yeah, the problem is I just don't see them getting rid of the title.
The only thing is, I know the belt was introduced by The Rock, and that's supposed to give it some credibility, but I'm sorry, and I don't mean disrespectful in my next comment, but I've seen better indie wrestling belts than that WWE Championship belt. It just looks shocking. Looks like something you get from Toys R Us.
Amen to that. I've been saying that.
But you know
what? It just looks so cheap and nasty. It's just naff. It's like something a 3-year-old would draw on a bit of cardboard and wear it.
I think the problem is so many people are so used to the old, the big belts. The WWE.
Why can't we go back to the big American Eagle thing that Hulk Hogan used to have, but revamp it slightly?
Thank you, Andy. That's my favorite belt. I would love it if they did that.
I think times change. I think they tried to change with the belt. I mean, look when they had the John Cena belt, and everybody bitched about the John Cena belt, and they said, change it.
They're trying to change it. Everything they're trying to change is the internet. Why don't they just have a fucking iPod on a belt? Because everything they do is on the internet. They might as well just have an iPod on a belt.
Here's my thing. They should bring back the belts. That winged eagle belt was the perfect belt. If you're going to do anything, and I talked to Rick about this many times, if you're going to merge the titles, merge both looks, kind of make a brand new belt, take both the WW belt and the gold belt, put him in a case somewhere, put him like it's going to go into the WWE vault, and leave him in there. Make this brand new WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Combine the words. Because back in the 80s, Hulk Hogan they used to announce it as the World Heavyweight Championship. Then it was the WWF Championship. You know, they used to mix it, the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. You know, then they used to even call it the Heavyweight Championship. Make one single belt. And just in case you keep that belt going, that's your undisputed title. Later on, if your roster starts building up and you want to separate the brands again, then you just say, well, guess what? This belt is redundant now. We're going to throw it away. It's not good. It's not needed. Let's bring the old belts back. And they open the vault and grab those two old belts. At least that's my opinion.
I've just thought of an idea, and I'm getting copyrighted before WWE nick it. Do we all know those tacky necklaces that teenagers buy? It's a heart, and it splits down the middle, and you have half each.
Yeah.
Are they going to have one of them belts? When they decide to separate, they just pull it in half.
Everybody defends half a belt.
Yeah. And then at the end of the year, it all comes together where you can actually join it and be the world champion.
Wow.
How do you have tables, ladders, and chairs? It's going to be matched the other half of the belt. The two fighters have the belts hanging up in the arena, and they have to join the two pieces together. And then a big lightning bolt comes out, and they're the champion for a year, till next year. Then they pull it apart again. Fight for two halves.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we can already figure out who's going to win this title versus title match.
John Cena.
Yeah, that's kind of a given, guys. Anybody not disagree with that one?
Super Cena's winning it. If everybody, you know, if put it like this, if everybody doesn't believe that he's going to win it, you're fools, because he's going to be the one that's always going to be on top for a while.
And there's definitely going to be one person out there on the internet that says, "Just Moxley's can win it." Yeah, like sure. Got more chance of me winning it.
All right, well, let's push on.
There's more chance Colt Cabana winning it. The WWE have nothing for you, Colt Cabana.
You can tell Andy's a big fan of Colt Cabana.
Nobody is.
Ouch.
Well, apparently Punk is.
Moving along.
HWR have nothing for you. If you don't know what I'm on about, watch the Colt Cabana show that's on British television.
Andy's favorite show, huh?
Yeah.
How many times a week you watch that one, Andy?
Oh, on repeat all the time. I just like seeing people just say no to him.
Well, the Big Show apparently is on the shelf again. It was we saw this Raw. He got kicked in the head on Survivor Series, and then
that's one hell of a big shelf.
Yeah. And then Alberto Del Rio gave him 2 swift kicks to the head, and that's when the docs ran in. He kind of had like a dazed look, and he couldn't stand up and stuff. He had to be carried to the back. And now he says he's going to be off television for quite some time, but he passed all their tests, whatever that means. So, let me ask you, Joe, do you think this is legit, or do you think this is all kayfabe?
The big loser. This for the big loser is all kayfabe. You know what? This is the most mismanaged athlete ever. And I'm this. Remember you talked to me about before if I had any rants. Well, here's a goddamn rant. Here's a guy who's legit 7 feet. He has the build. He has the movement. You know, he reminds me of Andre the Giant in the 70s, where Andre used to climb the top rope, used to do drop kicks. For you fans that don't know, YouTube it. You'll see Andre the Giant doing a lot of maneuvers, not the plodding, slow Andre of the later years. Look it up. Big Show is the most mismanaged character. He's the most yes man, company man I've ever seen, because any other person will never do what he's been doing. I mean, here's a guy that probably says if they tell him, okay, Paul, because his real name is Paul White. Paul, I want you to stick your face in this bunch of doggy crap, while Randy Orton kicks you in the rear a couple of times when Hornswoggle runs on your back. Yes, Mr. McMahon. Yes, sir. Here's a guy that should be the most powerful, strongest individual in your roster. He should be basically Andre the Giant. You call him in for special occasions. He comes in, he helps you win a battle or two, and that's it, and he goes back. They should not build this man up, put him in a championship position just to watch him fail. And then to do this little kick to the head thing and all. Come on now. It's all kayfabe. And to me, just doesn't make sense from a creative standpoint. Don't build a guy up if you're going to job him out. There, rant is done.
Well, let me ask you this, all right? And here's a fair question. I mean, because they did the same thing, apparently, to Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan won the title twice and didn't even kept it for maybe about a maximum of 25 hours. You know what I mean? It was gone. He didn't even keep it for 24 hours. It was gone the next night on Raw, opening segment of Raw.
Well, but the difference is Daniel Bryan is he's more capable and it's much more, I would say, appealing than the Big Show. Because look at all the yes chants that he gets.
But that's what he gets. But if you look at right, Triple H can get it, Big Show can get it, CM Punk can get it. That's not just his chant anymore. Anybody else can do it. Unfortunately, that's not like a Stone Cold says so. You know what I mean? It's like the what chant. Everybody else does it.
Well, and again, the situation is just credibility-wise. Daniel Bryan can go and come back and win it again. And it'll basically be your little guy trying his best to get that belt. You can beat him easily. You can beat him somehow. For him, it's not too bad because he can rebound. Big Show, when you're over 7 feet tall, 400+ pounds, and they're literally kicking you in the head and knocking you out and beating the hell out of you so easily, there's a problem because you shouldn't have that easy time with him. Daniel Bryan, he's a small guy. He'll get in his licks. He'll come back and give you a couple good hits. But come on, if you look at it in a reality sense, if Randy Orton would have ran over and kicked him on the head, that man should have rubbed the side of his head, got up, looked at him, pissed off,
and beaten the shit out of him,
and beat the hell out of him in the corner.
All right.
I guarantee you, Andre the Giant, Bundy, One Man Gang, hell, Big Boss Man and Akeem, they had never done that type of jobbing that Big Show does. So,
Andy, your thoughts?
I agree with everything Joe said. To be perfectly honest, it's a shame that the Big Show is probably one of the biggest and best athletes on the planet today, and the biggest thing he's done in his career is play a retarded bloke in a movie.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, what do you think the point for the WWE is to bring him all the way to the title picture and then have him fail? What's the advantage?
My personal opinion is this is my personal opinion, and it doesn't reflect on HWR at all. This is my personal opinion. Vince McMahon loves Andre the Giant. Everything he stands for, the guy loves Andre the Giant. And if anyone comes close to Andre the Giant, he doesn't like it. And the Big Show can surpass Andre the Giant. And I think that's what's in the way. Well, Vince does not want anyone to do that. Surpass my top guy.
But he wasn't
surpassed
the top
Andre the Giant 4 years ago.
Okay, but look at Andre the Giant and what he's done in his past years. He wasn't doing that great. Ultimate Warrior was taking him down, was beating hell out of him.
Andre the Giant was, I appreciate in the 70s, in his heyday, when people hadn't got a clue who he was an exceptional wrestler. As soon as ever he made it in the big time, his knees were shot. He was almost ready to jack it in. He handed the belt over to Hulk Hogan because he just couldn't hack it in the ring anymore. So the Andre the Giant that most of the youngsters will know, the 80s, early 90s wrestler was a complete useless piece of fat shit. His career was over. When people remember him, or what they remember him for, as being a lumbering lord horse who was 7 foot. Now, unless you've watched any of his 1970s fights, you'd think or question yourself, what the hell was he doing in the WWE apart from he was 7 feet? Because he was useless. His matches were boring. He was boring to listen to. Just everything about the guy sucked. And the Big Show surpassed him within 2 years of being in the WWE. And I don't think Vince liked it and he's held him back.
All right, Will. Some of your thoughts on the Big Show and and his issues that he's had with unable to capture WWE Gold.
Oh man, I don't know the time span of how long he hasn't had a title.
10
I know
years.
you guys. Okay, so decade in good times, right? Yeah, I think this is about time that he needs to get a title. He's not gonna wrestle forever. This is, in my personal opinion, like I'm gonna pull a route from Andy. This doesn't reflect on HWR, but I think you have a 7-foot athlete that has went through many obstacles to get to where he's at today. Dropping pounds. Everything we've seen. But pay to the question, give him the damn title. So when he retires, he could have something good to say about the company, but look who's in charge. Why they're not giving it to him? Makes you wonder. So, they should just give him the title. He's not going to wrestle for long. I only see maybe another 2 years, and then I think he's done. Just give him the title, let him be happy, and you can find some other big athlete that can fill in the void. Something I can think about.
But if I can put it, chime in real quick, the reason they do not give big guys the championships anymore is because you have to find a bigger guy to defeat him. Either that, or you have to come up with some cheating way to defeat him. So. Like, look at Khali. Khali's another legitimate giant. And what do they do? Make him into a dancing goof. He gets beaten by Fandango. It's don't put a person like that in a championship position if you're going to drop them out later. I think you should just keep them as your, like in this case, keep him as the guy who's going to be the thorn on the side of Triple H.
And you know what? You talk about size, about how size, they don't want to put them up that high because if they put them guys that big is gonna be able to beat somebody. Who else is you have to get somebody bigger to beat them. Well, look at John Cena for a moment, if you will. John Cena has never tapped out to anyone. Now, if you think about as a wrestler, not about size but ability. If he makes him tap out, if he beats, a guy comes along and eventually makes him tap out. Then he's going to be a step above John Cena in his ability. And then they're going to think, okay, who are we going to get to beat him? You see where I'm going with this? So
Absolutely.
What's the difference? Not much. Just the physical strength rather than wrestling ability. Or the ability that John Cena has to not tap out or whatever it is you want to call it.
But again, if you look at it, if you in a reality sense, you have this gigantic individual. If you're doing something like, let's say like Randy Orton gives him like a knee to the head or something like that, you really are going to have to line your knee pads with iron or steel to knock this guy out. Because if you do like a move, like a drop kick or something, Big Show should be able to shove it off, look down at it, and say, "Oh, you're dead now, mister," and just go after him. And I'm going to go back to what Andy said about Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant basically was jobbing to help the talent evolve. When he was jobbing to the Ultimate Warrior because he was helping them go higher, or at least trying to get them to go higher. What is Big Show doing? Why is he jobbing? He's not getting anybody over. He's just jobbing to be a jobber because they picture, well, let's build him up, and as soon as he gets to that point, slap you down, back down on the ground. And apparently, and they're spitting on him, you could say. And apparently they don't care, he doesn't care for himself. He's just, okay, I'll collect that paycheck. Okay, fine, thank you. I don't know what everybody else's thoughts is, but that's my thought there.
Yeah, and I think it's just the way the WWE is now. It's just the hierarchy. It has nothing to do with the size. I think it's all about politics, and it's just they push you to a point. And once you're at that you have that match. That's it. You're back down in the ranks, and I think that's a mistake. Like I said, they would look like what they did with Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's right back down to mid-card status. I mean, yeah, he's wrestling with CM Punk. They're doing it just to keep him a little bit above, but he's not going to get the title run anytime soon. It'll be after this. They're going to eventually have to split, and if they split, that means a feud. So how's that going to happen? Who's going to come out on top of that one? We know CM Punk's not going to be the one who's not going to come out on top. I mean, we know that he's going to end up winning. But let's move on. So right now, Lance, you got a couple of stories.
Yeah, a couple of controversies, and I don't mean the controversies like Brian getting killed on Family Guy. I'm not talking shit like that. Anyway, one of them is Sid Vicious versus a squirrel. Psycho Sid, Sid Vicious had a little pet squirrel. He took with him everywhere. Two wrestlers, I'm guessing one of them was Arn Anderson, bet him he couldn't keep the squirrel down his pants for a whole minute. Sid accepted, and then the challenge and stuck it down his pants. After about 30 seconds, the squirrel bit his manhood.
Oh,
If you get my drift. Vicious felt the pain and fell down in pain and crushed the squirrel. Needless to say, he needed rabies shots and stitches on his manhood. Your guys' thoughts?
I think this is nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, you've took me punchline. I was just going to say, it was probably after it's nuts.
What
Hey,
did I miss?
The squirrel thought it was time for
Harvest.
to winter, harvest time. He says, well, that looks like a pair of nuts. I'm going to take them, but hey, that's a big wiener we got there. I'm going to try to take that too, and probably try to take it. But you got to admit, something's funny. Can you imagine? Hey, Rocky, what you doing? I just kicked Sid Vicious in the nuts. Okay. Rocky the Squirrel taking down Sid Vicious. That's got to be the most funniest thing I've ever heard.
Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Well, sometimes you get your nuts bitten.
What did I walk into?
Anyway,
Sid Vicious nuts.
ladies and gentlemen, that's James from the Big Easy. Welcome to the show. You're late, but hi.
I'm sorry if I just got done doing stuff today.
It's all right. No, we were just talking about Sid Vicious, who apparently got attacked by a squirrel who thought his testicles were a pair of nuts.
The question is, how the hell did that happen? That's my main question.
I don't know. Apparently, the squirrel is still being held for questioning.
He's got a sexual fetish. He likes putting squirrels down his trousers.
Guess so.
He wanted something other. He wanted another furry object down there.
Other than a beaver.
What else you got for us, Lance?
Okay. The Sid Vicious versus Arn Anderson stabbing. On October 27th, 1993, in Blackburn, Andy, you might have to help me with this one, Lancastershire?
Lancashire.
Alright. During a WCW tour of the UK, Sid Vicious and Arn Anderson got into one of the most insane brawls in wrestling history. It started at a bar, which most brawls do, but anyway, when the two were drinking with several wrestlers in the company, an argument broke out. Obviously, obliviously to, in any fight, there are multiple sides to the story. the basic gist is Anderson was talking about Sid not being horseman material, while Sid argued that Anderson could never draw money in the business. Later that evening, Sid took Anderson's hotel room with a foreign object. Story goes, Sid whacked Anderson with the object, nearly knocked him out. Anderson retaliated, gave a pair of scissors, and the two began struggling back and forth, where in the end, Anderson was reportedly stabbed 20 times violently with scissors, while Sid himself was stabbed 4 times or more. Another wrestler, Too Cold Scorpio, and apparently broke things up. Both guys were rushed to the hospital. You guys' thoughts?
All right, you know what? Let me go first. Why in the fuck would you be running with scissors or trying to use scissors as a foreign object?
Stick a squirrel down your trousers.
Yeah.
That's a 4-inch. I mean, this is sad. I mean, what, they were in the UK when they did this?
Yeah, apparently it came down to drinking, and I guess Sid had quite a lot to drink that night.
Good old alcohol.
Yeah, and it just one thing led to another. It was a simple fight, and then of course, it came up to a discussion. It broke out a little bit more serious, and then Sid's like, you know what, fuck you, I'm gonna kill him. Came out with the scissors, started stabbing him back and forth, and it just erupted. Even they both, I think even Joe talked about it when he first told us about it, said that they both completely regret that it even happened. You know, even on some documentaries. Am I right, Joe?
Yes, exactly. It was basically an incident that shouldn't have gone too far. You know, whatever the situation was, it was really bad on Sid, more for Sid than on Anderson, because the result was Sid was fired from WCW and really made a negative view on the company. Because I remember the story when it actually broke out, and this was a situation where they all, again, you know, it wasn't very good for the company. It wasn't good for nobody, but you know, it affected Sid more because he's the one that got fired.
All right, Andy, your thoughts?
Was it no, it wouldn't be a wrestling incident, would it? Be after?
No, they were at the bar. They were at the bar.
I don't know. They shouldn't mix wrestling with alcohol. There's too many bad stories about wrestlers and beer.
Yeah, and it unfortunately that's what happens. Sometimes shit just goes about, you know. I think it's also maybe the ego, you think, that kind of gets in the way too.
Well, to be perfectly honest, neither of them have had a fantastically money-making career. They might have had a career on the TV, but neither of them have had what you might call a groundbreaking career that's memorable.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know that Sid had a bit of a leg-breaking career, but no.
Yeah, that's all he's remembered for. Oh, have you seen the YouTube video of Sid Vicious breaking his ankle? That's
I saw it live. I don't have to see the YouTube video. I did see it live.
Yeah, I mean, he had some good feuds with Hulk Hogan, but that's pretty much it. Psycho Sid. I don't know.
Which this instant is, from what I hear, is actually how he got the name, the moniker Psycho.
Yep. James, your thoughts?
Oh, joy.
My thoughts is really is that it's not new. It's like any time you hear like fights in bars involving wrestlers, it's like really not new. It's like you hear it all the time when it comes to fights. I mean, look what happened recently with who was it? Alberto Del Rio or something like that?
Oh yeah, Alberto Del Rio and Drew McIntyre.
Exactly.
But they weren't fighting each other; they were defending each other.
Yeah, they were defending each other, but it's just with alcohol. When you involve alcohol and bars with wrestlers, yeah, that was a bad thing, bad combination.
All right, well, let's move along. Will, I think you got a couple stories for us.
Oh, yes, I do. what I want to talk about is Ricardo Rodriguez is coming back to managing in the WWE. Last time we seen him, he was managing with RVD, and then he got beat up by Alberto Del Rio. Report came out 4 days ago, which I posted here on Hardcore Wrestling Radio, that he and actually on Twitter saying, he feels he wants to return. He had no regrets. Working the Spanish announce table for Survivor Series. He feels like WWE is his home. So, Jimmy, the question is, do you want to see Ricardo Rodriguez return as being a manager, and do you think he can manage? I'll start with you, Joe.
Ricardo, I look at Ricardo I can't see him as a manager, because now again, when you define manager, for me, you're looking at the Bobby Heenans, the Jim Cornettes, the Mr. Fuji's, hell, even Slick, a Captain Lou Albano. When you look at Ricardo Rodriguez, he just doesn't have that type of look that he can fit with everyone. My opinion is, if he's going to come back as a manager, one, he's going to have to be a heel manager, and he's going to have to go back with Alberto Del Rio. He's going to have to learn to be that antagonist. But unfortunately, his I hate to say it, appearance, it's only going to be looked upon like, well, he's just going to be a manager for Hispanic wrestlers. He's going to have to be someone that you put with like those Los Matadors or Alberto Del Rio. That's the only way I can see him being a manager, and he's going to have to be that type of manager, and he's going to have to be a very pro-Mexico type manager.
All right, Lance, your thoughts? Do you think Ricardo should come back to managing, or do you think he should get his wrestling career up and going? Remind you, he's only 27 years old, so keep that age in mind. What do you think?
Well, if he can go, why not let him? If he can go in the ring, why not let him? That's how I feel. Hey, we can use more young blood in this company, in the competitives, in the in-ring phase. It's my personal opinion on it.
All right. Rick, your thoughts? Where do you think Ricardo should go from here? Managing or back to look on this?
I'm going to be honest with you. Now that he's gone, I'm not really missing him. So if he's just stayed gone, I'd be more happier, to be honest. I saw him in the ring a couple of times when he was on NXT, and I have to say I was impressed. He's not a bad wrestler. Not a great wrestler, but not a bad wrestler. So he's kind of like, I just don't see any place for him, really. I don't see him as a manager, and he's too small to really fit anywhere in the WWE. I mean, I'm sorry. Even Rey Mysterio, I've never been a super big fan of. When he won the world title, I'm like, why? He's not a heavyweight champion. So I just don't see it. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. Back when they had the cruiserweights, which was, many moons ago, yeah, he would have had a place for it. WCW, when they had the cruiserweight division, absolutely, he probably had a division, but no, not here in the WWE, unfortunately.
All right, James, my road dog, what do you think about Ricardo? Manager or wrestler?
I think WWE is not going to give him a chance as a manager. I'm sorry. Not as a wrestler. I'm sorry. I think he's going to be mostly stuck as a manager. I just don't see anybody he can really go with. Really, I don't think they're going to put him back with Alberto Del Rio. That's my main concern. So really, I don't see any place for him right now.
All right. Finally, to you, Andy.
I think he already made these. I don't know where the things come from about him being a manager or a wrestler, but I think he'd already made his niche on Survivor Series as a Spanish announcer, a third person on the Spanish announce table.
Okay.
Because Carlos Savanovic, whatever his name is, must be knocking on, and he looks like he's ready to retire any minute. Is he going to be the new, like, God, I forgot his name. Is he going to be the new Jerry the King Lawler on the Spanish announce
And
table?
that could probably work for him too, if they really wanted to. I'm not saying he doesn't have a place in the WWE, but certainly not as a wrestler or on the manager table. Sorry.
Yeah, it just seems strange that they put him on the announcers table for the whole of the pay-per-view, as though they're giving him a tryout. And if you notice now, we have 3 resident commentators in the UK, or they try and get 3 resident commentators for the Spanish announce table, just to make it even. I don't see him being a singles wrestler. I don't really rate him much as a manager at all, so I don't know what they're going to do with him apart from make him a commentator.
Okay. And finally here, we already know that the American Wolves from Ring of Honor are known now as the American Pit Bulls. We got Joe Cahill as Eddie Edwards and Eric Philbin as Davey Richards. They had a debut match on NXT against the Ascension. Of course, it was not a title match. When it got to the ring, many of the fans know who they were. It was amazing. I mean, they're not under contract, but they look like they're ready to go. So I guess the only question I got to say to everybody is, now that we got so many Indies wrestlers, do you think that they can move up from Ring of Honor into the WWE as either singles or the tag team divisions? Rick?
Well, I'm going to say, first off, from the American Wolves to American Pitbulls, I'm not saying that Pitbulls aren't fierce, but Wolves is kind of a step down. That's just my thoughts. I've only seen these guys once, and they look like they have some, promise. Again, what they are in NXT is nothing what they're going to be in the WWE. Sorry, guys. That's just my thoughts, just from what I've come to know. And whether they're going to be a tag team, I don't see that happening, because American Pitbulls, real Americans, not unless they put the two together, and that's just not going to happen either, boys. That's just my thoughts.
Well, that's Rick straight to the point. Joe, what do you think about the American Pit Bulls, singles or tag team?
I say leave them as tag team. Right now, the WWE needs some good quality tag teams, and bringing in these 2 young guys from Ring of Honor has been a great thing for the company. I'd rather have these 2 guys in WWE than in TNA, to be honest. Now these 2 young guys are going to get the exposure. Even though they're in NXT, they'll slowly phase into either SmackDown or Raw, but it's going to work because they are still young. They have a lot of athleticism. They can be your next type British Bulldogs, if you really think about it.
Ooh.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Instead of American Pitbulls, don't you think they might trim it down to just Pitbulls by the time they get to the WWE?
You know what? No, because you don't want that connection to the ECW Pitbulls. And you never know, right now, the way they have it, they want to make them like a little bit of patriotic team. They want to probably make them into your solid homegrown team. And you got to remember, the way they were in the way they were in Ring of Honor, it's one thing. Now they're going to be retrained with the WWE way, so they might be a little different, but I think they're going to leave them to an extent the way they used to be, to go over with the fans. And I think this is a good move for the WWE. They need to start bringing in some more good indie talent, but there's a lot of indie talent out there that needs this break. So, it's a great thing, and I hope these 2 young guys can make it. I hope they even get a tag title run.
All right. James, your thoughts on the Pitbulls?
Well, the thing about American Pit Bulls instead of the American Wolves, I think the reason why they changed the name is because of Ring of Honor. And really, I think WWE don't want to use that name just because. Because WWE WWE always want to trademark their own things. But if they have a chance in the WWE, I can see them they work better as a tag team.
Okay. To you, Lance, what do you think? Singles or tag?
tag, but like Joe mentioned, I personally think they need to choose a different fierce animal for American something or other, because like that's too close to the pit bulls for me.
You know what? I can almost see them probably doing something like, like the New Age pit bulls or something like that.
That would I'd be okay with the New Age pit bull, but anything just call them pit bulls. That's too close to 1 and 2.
All right, and Andy, your thoughts on this? Final thought.
Kiss of death with the name, and I didn't know nothing about them until last week, and I caught some old Ring of Honor on YouTube, and to be perfectly honest, they're what we call in the UK 5-minute wonder. They won't last 5 minutes, not because of the wrestling ability, they don't know how to wrestle on TV. And for those people that are sitting there thinking, what do you mean they don't know how to wrestle on TV? I'm sure Joe will understand this if none of the other guys do. We hear that wrestlers have to learn where the cameras are, how to look at a camera, and how to get the best effect out of a move by utilising the camera angles. These guys ain't got a clue. Watched them in Ring of Honor. They have to keep turning around to find out where the camera is. They have not got ring presence. They just have not got a clue. They might be the best wrestlers in the world, but when it comes to TV wrestling, it's an entirely different sport, and they haven't got it.
And I have to agree with Andy on that topic. That's why they're in NXT right now, because they have to learn the ring presence of a major company. Before, it's one thing going from an indie company where you're more focused on the wrestling aspect and focusing on the fans everywhere. You're leaning towards the fans, trying to get them to riled up. Now you're in the world of the WWE, where you have to put a headlock on, look around, and look for that camera, and literally get the effect in. It's not about skills. It's not about how athleticism. It's how well you appeal to that camera, how well you can get over on that little camera. And if you can do it, you're bound to move up. If you can't, then you're going to be stuck in the bottom and be nothing but fillers. So, yep, Andy, you got that one right on the head.
Yeah, one of the matches, I can't remember who it was, but one of the matches that they had, when they won, they started to taunt the crowd, and they picked the microphone up, and the camera was directly facing them. And the guy started to walk around the ring and, started to taunt the crowd and not the camera. So for most of his taunt, you saw the back of his head. And I'm thinking, not good TV, guys. I don't like looking at back of people's heads when they're talking. They have not got a clue what they're doing when it comes to TV taping of wrestling. Like I say, not knocking their ability, but they will stick on the indie circuit for the rest of their career unless they pull their act out. And I haven't seen them on NXT, but if the WWE don't sort of get them change, and I don't know how long they've been wrestling, but you imagine you've been driving a car for 15 years and someone tells you you're not driving correctly, change your style. It's not that simple.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll chime in a little bit before we go back to you, Rick. They've been in Ring of Honor for quite some time now. They've always been a tag team. I mean, they have a couple of singles runs together against each other and against other talent. But I'm gonna have to agree with Joseph on this one because I mean, we don't have young, vibrant tag teams aside from the Usos, the Primetime Players, etc. I mean, as Triple H said, they filled their quota when it came to having indie talent. They think they had enough, but I mean, they're going to keep doing it anyway, considering Richards is only 30 years old and Edwards is only 29, so, they have another good, 6-7 years in their belt,
Don't you think, though, with the name Pitbulls, like Joe said earlier, they're going to be thinking of the Pitbulls from ECW, because that's the first thing that struck my mind. The name's already been used. And not to good effect, really.
Yeah, Yeah, but like Rick said, I mean, ECW, they already had the Pit Bulls. The American name, we got the Real Americans. So unless creative could do something to change that, then I don't think that they could go out as Wrestler 1 and Wrestler 2. I mean, I don't think that'd be too damn generic. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I would love for them to have a shot. I mean, a fair shot. I mean, they're good talent. I mean, they got another 6-7 years, but we'll find out as time progresses.
I just hope they don't have them walk into the ring with a pair of pit bulls. That's all I can say.
Oh God, that would just be just...
No, because when you think about it, the British Bulldogs used to go out with Mabel, whatever the dog was called, and then when they started touring around the United States and other countries, suddenly the pit bulls disappeared, and somebody asked the question, why don't we see Mabel, the pit bull terrier, anymore? And basically couldn't get through quarantine all the time, so the gimmick had to be squashed. And the same thing will happen with these. If they haven't walked to the ring with a pit bull, which I have every surmisation, if that's a word, I think that's what the WWE are going to go for.
I don't think they will.
What they're going to do in about 3 or 4 months when they go to somewhere like Boston, and Boston say, I'm sorry, but the dog's got to be in quarantine for a week.
No, because here's the big difference. You're looking at today's market. They're not looking really for that extravagant line of gimmicks. They're not going to bring out any animals. They're basically just going to be themselves running to the ring, going. So I don't see Vince rehashing the old Matilda, the Bulldog gimmick. I think they're just going to leave it. Okay, they just come out. I think the reason they put the name together is because technically pit bulls are like the favorite pet of most Americans. So it's like American pit bulls. That's basically, how they look at it. It's like hard, locking on, full of energy. That's how they look at them. So I think that's why they gave them the name. I would have preferred the American Wolves, but, that's their thing,
I just hope, thinking about what you've just said there, I just hope they give them a finishing move, which is some kind of chokehold or something that you cannot break, because a pit bull, as we all know, once it bites into flesh, it will not let go.
Yeah.
And I think if they give them a finishing move like a sleeper hold or something, once it's on, nobody should get out of it, or the gimmick will suck.
All right. And actually, Rick, I got one more thing to bring to the helm, and I know we talked about this last year, but I would like to bring this up again.
All right.
WWE has also expected a poor Survivor Series buy rate. We already know that they didn't get a good buy rate. The football game and the American Music Awards did better than Survivor Series. I mean, it ain't like the Survivor Series back in the late 80s, early 90s where you had every match, like 4-on-4, 5-on-5 and everything, the times have changed. So, just one question, gentlemen. Is Survivor Series, the name, mean anything anymore, or is it just a name to you? Rick?
It's just a name, but I'm going to just say this for the record, and I think I said this before, we even came on the show, that this show, that it's never really had any meaning to me. I've never really liked, this is my least favorite pay-per-view out of all pay-per-views. I've never liked it. It has never had any purpose to me, even when it was 5-on-5.
Well, short to the point, again from Rick. All right, Lance, what do you think? Survivor Series, was it okay in your mind when you watched it, or is it just a name?
This year sucked, but Survivor Series used to be one of my favorite pay-per-views, and it's a shell of what it once was.
All right, Joe. You know much about Survivor Series. What do you think? The buy rate disappointing. So do you expect better in the future, or is it just a name in your book?
You know what? It's already outlast. It's not a problem of the name or the event. It's that they host it the next day on Raw. They show you the results of the rematches. That's what's killing the pay-per-view. Why should you spend $30-$40 on the pay-per-view when you're going to see the results or the rematches the next day?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to think about it, on Raw the next night, what did they do? They even had another Divas 7-on-7 elimination match, and it was the same result. For want of a better term, it was just, the Totally Divas won. So, what does that say? And this is not the first time. I mean, they do it all the time, over and over and over again. We see the same stupid shit.
And the problem is, again, it's too much TV time. It's just too much of the same thing. That's why a lot of people are generally bored with the WWE and bored with TNA, because they get to see the rematches the next time on TV, or they get to see the exact same battle all over again. One time was bad enough. To see it again, what were you hoping for? A different outcome? It's something that they need to cut. If it happens, it happens. Boom, it's done. Let's move on to something else. Too much TV time is killing the products. We don't need to see, the same match over and over. Because why pay for a pay-per-view if you're going to see it again for free? There's nothing wrong with the event. But you know what? Let me retract that. They should bring it back to the way it was, to a traditional way of 5 versus 5, all the way down to the matches. Your 5-on-5 regular matches, your 10-on-10 tag matches, and then maybe your main event. They need to go back to that old format.
Oh, all right. James, to you.
Well, I gotta have to say, I agree with everybody. It's just a name now. I mean, this was originally one of your big 4 pay-per-views, but there wasn't much hype in this Survivor Series, going to the Survivor Series. You had maybe like a few, like the major storylines. The major storylines being like, okay, it's focused on, but like the couple of the matches was created the Monday or during that week before Survivor Series, and it's wrong. It's incorrect. They should not have done that. And it goes to any of the pay-per-views, really.
And finally to you, Andy. Survivor Series, what does it mean to you?
Nothing. It's a bit like Money in the Bank. The Survivor Series is just one match. So why do they really need a pay-per-view called Survivor Series when the Survivor Series is basically just one match? If every single match was a Survivor in some way, shape or form, I could understand it. Like the pay-per-view. We all said about the pay-per-view, Money in the Bank ladder matches and stuff. If every single match was a suitcase hanging in the middle of the ring and everybody had to fight for, I don't know, a go at the World Championship, then so be it. But just to name a pay-per-view after a particular match, I just don't see the point. I know Survivor Series has been going, 27 years, is it? I've never seen the significance for it.
Here.
All right, and throw it back to you, Rick.
Well, you know what? I think that's going to wrap it up for this edition, this Thanksgiving edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Be sure for all of you who are listening, and be sure your comments in the comment section below, and please, of course, subscribe to youtube.com/HWR show. Andy, tell us all about where you can find you at.
Yes, you can find me at www.stokehaunted.com. You can find me on Facebook, same address, but obviously Facebook. And you can find me on Twitter, same address again, Stoke Haunted. That's it, really. Thank you.
All right. And Joe, what do you got going on over at the CWA?
We have our December 21st Toys for Tots show. It's at 468 Totowa Avenue in Patterson, New Jersey, the CWA Arena. We hope your fans are there. Again, December 21st. And you can also find us at ClassicWrestlingAssociation.com, on Facebook at Facebook.com, ClassicWrestlingAssociation.com. You can also find us on Twitter at CWA at Pro Wrestling CWA, and also on YouTube, Pro Wrestling CWA. Rick, back to you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, well, tell us all, everyone, where they can find you at.
Of course, you can find me going to James's house and raiding his refrigerator. No, I'm just playing. I will be, of course, doing my article work, as always, at our Hardcore Wrestling Radio page. And, of course, doing 2 for 2 work with Billy and the WGS TV page. And next week, you'll find an interesting heel and face of the week. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Thank you, Will. And James, over to you.
You will also find me on the HWR page. You will see me do the Diva of the Week. As you know, this week's Diva is Natalia, and I'll find one for next week. Also, I may put up an article relating to a diva, to some with divas, coming up in about a bit. Because I may put up an article, and I want to hear your suggestions on it. But if you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at Fatboy504. That's ChatBoi 504.
All right. Thank you, James. And, of course, while Billy's here, Billy's away, we're always thinking of him. And you can check him over at his Facebook page. That's facebook.com/WGSTV. And, of course, check out his YouTube page. That's youtube.com/TheWrestleGamer. And if you ever want to find me, check me over to my Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio. And please, again, once again, subscribe to us over at youtube.com/HWR Show. So for everyone here, we'd like to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. Until the next time, this is Rick Starr saying we'll see you when we see you.
Gobble, gobble, everybody.
And don't get attacked by the gobbledygoo.
Kill the turd. Kill the turd.
And you will not offend me with cash.
Thank you for listening to this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Be sure to follow us on our pages, facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio and Spreaker.com/HWR Media, and also on youtube.com/HWR Show. Until the next time, this is Rick Starr saying see you when we see you.